Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with psychiatric nurse practitioner and owner of the Sinclair Method, Brian Noonan. He is the founder of the nation's largest provider of the Sinclair Method, a treatment for alcohol addiction that uses the medication Naltrexone to gradually reduce the cravings for alcohol. He continues to help hundreds of patients to regain control over their alcohol intake without having to abstain, go to AA meetings, or enter a rehab center. We get into this and so much more. Enjoy this interview.
Well, hey, thank you again for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. That's, I'm happy to, for sure.
So, the one thing that I want to start off with, you have the Sinclair Method, and you're obviously helping people out. So talk to me a little bit about how you personally survived and got through the pandemic and how it changed you now that we're coming out of it.
Well, fortunately for me, as far as at least as far as work goes, I had been working from home prior to the pandemic. I've been providing telehealth services, psychiatric services by video probably since 2017 or so. So at least on that front, it wasn't a big adjustment to make. As far as work was concerned, unlike many people who it was kind of a brand new thing, and they were have to furnish offices and really change their whole life around. So in that aspect, it was I guess an easier transition practically. And also there were some other elements that became popular out of necessity during the pandemic that I had been using already, such as grocery delivery and things like that. Just because I had been such one of the things I work or try to help people with is time management, and some of these services that became popular during pandemic were actually kind of good things to do in general in terms of essentially kind of outsourcing some of these tasks. But in terms of so some of those things were kind of I guess I had been doing a lot of those some of those practical things, but in terms of the sort of the social aspects, in terms of going to restaurants, in terms of entertainment, movies, I'm a big movie fan, those types of things, those were the most challenging kind of things for me. Just kind of a sense of almost a boredom. There was some sort of angst or some sort of anxiety that I felt heightened during that time, for sure.
So let me get an idea exactly what you do. If you're transported in front of a group of grade school kids, and one of them looks up at you, you're at a career day, and they ask you, what do you do for a living as a third grader? How would you answer that child?
I would say that if you think about people who, if you think about what a doctor or a nurse or someone like that does, people who are in need of health care, whether it be something like a cold or whether it be something like a feeling sad or feeling upset about a loss or something like that. And so I help people overcome challenges as far as their mental health is concerned, in terms of our those types of things.
So talk to me a little bit about how you have this dream of yours of being in medicine came about. Did you always want to be one since you were a kid?
No, in fact, originally my interest was in psychology, I guess, which is sort of similar to what I'm doing now, but not quite as interested in treatment as such, but more about human behavior, human motivation, those types of things. And then actually, I think back in my undergraduate years, I really was influenced by Silence of the Lambs, for example, for being like an FBI analyst of criminal behavior, for example. That was one interest I had. So I was really, it was more kind of broad, I would say, just kind of what makes people tick, one way or the other, and just through a series of kind of exposures to addiction, exposures to other kind of mental health environments at jobs I had, then that kind of steered me towards a more clinical aspect versus some type of research working with mice or something like that.
So talk to me about the Sinclair Method. Talk to me about helping people get away from alcohol, living healthier lives. How did that develop?
Well, it actually, I've worked in addiction for about 20 years, and this medication that is at the heart of the Sinclair Method, it actually was FDA approved in 1994. But what's interesting about it is that, what makes the Sinclair Method distinctive is that the way that it was FDA approved was simply to give the medicine, Naltrexone. You give it to a person and you kind of do the usual things that encourage them to maintain their abstinence, for as long as they can. But what we later learned is that the medication works by essentially blocking the buzz that occurs when you drink. And so essentially drinking was kind of a key component of how you would reduce your alcohol use. So the person who is concerned about their drinking, you take the medication at least an hour or so before your first drink. You take the medication, it blocks the buzz. And it's not necessarily that particular episode of drinking, but it's an accumulation over time of the medication blocking the buzz, essentially the reward that you would otherwise receive. And without that reward, what you see is just a gradual reduction of use. So a person's drinking less, but you also see a gradual reduction in terms of thoughts, related to alcohol use. You get essentially the whole issue of alcohol, one way or the other, moves into the background gradually over time. So what we see is about a 25% reduction per month. Something in the ballpark, plus or minus, but you do see about a 25% reduction in overall use that accumulates, and usually by 6 months or so, people are completely in control of their drinking. And for a lot of people, that means abstinence, which is great. They never want to drink again. And some people just want to drink once or twice a week or month or socially, which they're able to do as long as they take their medicine, at least 1 hour before they drink. So it's really a remarkable thing that we've been doing it for about 4 years, probably. Yeah, sounds like it. So talk to me a little bit about who role models have been for you. Who's inspired you to do the work that you do? Well, I think as far as specifically in medicine, I have family members who work in the healthcare field, either as nurses or some of them work as administrators. I would also kind of credit maybe if you could credit the Buddha. I think mindfulness and meditative practices inform my work quite a bit, and I've lived in a Zen monastery back, I guess it's about 10 years ago now. But so in terms of kind of this idea of extending compassion, as widely as you can, I think my background in Buddhism is important in that regard. And then I would say those would be probably the two biggest influences, although specifically addiction. My family, both my parents, for example, have had issues with alcohol, especially my father's side. So it was kind of addiction or something related to alcohol, problematic alcohol use in one form or another, has sort of been kind of on my radar since I was born. Essentially, I've been aware of kind of the things that can go wrong with alcohol. So, have you seen an uptick in business now that the pandemic's kind of we're hitting a different phase where we're coming out of it? Are you getting more clients, more people looking for help? It's hard to say because for one, the demand is so kind of high in the first place, or at least the need is so high in the first place. It's like people are really alcohol. There's a lot of press, of course, for the opioid epidemic. But if you look at the numbers in terms of societal costs, in terms of mortality, in terms of the accumulation of all these kind of negative consequences of alcohol use, it's really neck and neck with the opioid crisis. I mean, it really is a widespread problem. And then during the epidemic, or during the pandemic, it was so much easier for it to drink. And that's one thing that we noticed. It was just kind of, well, let's say maybe someone drank when they got home from work after an hour commute or whatever it was. So it was like even that would shave off an hour before they started drinking. Or, you could even drink during meetings, or you could drink while you could essentially, if you're working from home, it was much easier for just the people to kind of kind of cut corners, so to speak, that they were normally regulating their behavior in some particular way. But it came much easier, so that really snuck up on a lot of people. All of a sudden, people are, I'm drinking every day. I'm drinking 2 drinks every day. Now I'm drinking, and it was something that, and of course it was a very stressful, socially isolating. A lot of the kind of the environmental contexts that increase the drinking, those were kind of a necessary kind of byproduct of the lockdowns. So you definitely have people who either their drinking problem worsened, or essentially a new problem was created over the past couple of years. So definitely people are, but I think there is some more awareness too. I am seeing more articles, just kind of my news feed. Just there was something in CNN the other day that came in. So you're seeing kind of maybe a recognition that, even though it's kind of socially accepted to drink, there really are some consequences and at scale for this.
So talk to me a little bit about a success story that you've been a part of because of what you've done, whether it's with your, with whatever help you've given somebody. What's been the best fan letter you've gotten?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the main ones that make an impression on me are the people that have tried everything else. A lot of times, one of the initial reactions you get, kind of the typical in this category, is just almost anger sometimes, because people have spent so much money on, say, inpatient treatment, for example. It's been $10,000, and within a week or something like that, they've relapsed, and then it's kind of they're back to square one, or something to that effect. So a typical kind of success story is that they've tried various approaches. And then they try Naltrexone within the kind of the protocol of the Sinclair Method. And really, what's fascinating, and really what struck me about it, in terms of kind of what people say about it versus an abstinence-based program, is that it really takes away the interest in drinking altogether. It's not that the person has to develop coping skills or some sort of kind of strategy to fight a daily battle against their brain's pursuit of these endorphins that the alcohol releases. It really just kind of takes it away, so that essentially, they're not living with the problem of alcohol, but essentially they're also not living with a solution to their problem either. It just becomes kind of a non-issue over time. So they're not devoting mental energy. So people are often in tears, because it really is this gigantic monkey off their back. Even the management, even if they're abstinent in some sense, there's just this weight and burden that they're carrying around, because their brain, even though they're not drinking, is still in pursuit, and in some ways still preoccupied with the drinking. So a success story would be a daily drinker of 12 shots or something, or 2 bottles of wine. We see something like this, daily drinkers, and then they come back in a few weeks for their follow-up, and of course they're still drinking heavily, but maybe it's 10 shots per day instead of 12 after a couple of weeks. And then they notice that it wasn't the first thing they did when they got home. So they see evidence that the grip is loosening. And then, as I mentioned, a few months later, it's 6 shots a day, and so forth. So they work their way down. And the kind of the word that you hear a lot is just freedom, liberation, something like that, where people sort of like kind of these chains of the addiction have finally been broken. So that would be typical.
Yeah. So let's get to the man behind the medicine. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your clients, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I'm a person who is sort of when I think of myself, I think of someone who's really trying to, in a constant state of kind of self-improvement in some way, or at least trying to refine myself in some particular way, which is not very easy. It's really kind of a ongoing reflection of, was I insensitive, or did I say the wrong thing, or how can I improve myself in a particular way? Even like play guitar, for example. What can I do to practice more or to inspire myself more? So there really is something to that where I feel like through the years I'm definitely much more compassionate towards myself in terms of mistakes I make, regrets, anything like that. Just sort of embracing it as part of the journey that I'm on, and trying not to take things too seriously. Kind of in a categorical sense, definitely an introverted person who reads all the time. So, kind of ensuring that it's been kind of an intentional energy to maintain and strengthen my relationships is important. There's something I have to work on. It comes, there's all kinds of things come naturally. We have various kind of talents and inclinations, and so certain things don't come naturally to me that I have to put extra effort into. And one of those is just making sure I reach out to my family members on a regular basis, something like that.
Sure. So if anyone out there wants to learn more about your services, your methods, anything related to your world, where can they go?
Yeah, sinclairmethod.org. www.sinclairmethod.org is the website. I think we have some videos on TikTok now at sinclairmethod.org. You can just search Sinclair Method. We're really the kind of the experts, the largest providers in the country. We're in over 30 states now. So it's really something worth checking out. And I think one of the great things about it, beyond just, that kind of some of the benefits that I've described, is that I think because it requires so little of people, it's you don't have to take time off of work. You don't have to even say I'm an alcoholic, or you don't have to. The barriers economically, practically, even psychologically, in terms of identifying with the issue of drinking, are so low. So I really just encourage people to, and you don't have to stop drinking. That's the main thing. So I really think if you think you might have a problem, someone thinks they might have a problem. Even just to lose weight or get in better health sometimes. So we see people that do it for that purpose. So I really hope this will kind of lower the stigma for drinking as well. You really see that it's not about character. It's not about some personal failing. It really is about, we really know that the people who develop drinking problems, the way that they respond to alcohol is different. It really is a highly rewarding experience that their brain becomes preoccupied with. And this medicine essentially makes the experience less rewarding. So it kind of normalizes their experience of drinking.
Excellent. Brian, thank you for taking time out, man. This has been fascinating. Good luck with everything.
Take care of yourself, and let me know if you need any assistance or anything like that.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, medicine, and business, and music from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.